Hello guys, welcome back to Modern Web. If you are new to my channel, then subscribe the channel right now if you want to master the web development. In today's video, we will continue our e-commerce series. This is the fourth part by the way. If you haven't watched the previous three parts, make sure you check them first. You can get the link on top right and also in the description. So basically in this part, we will making rating and review system. So without wasting more time, let's see the demo. So I am on product page and you can see it doesn't have a review section because it don't have any ratings. So let me add a review. If I submit this form, it redirects me to login page because I'm not logged in. So basically user can't add a review until he is logged in. So let me log in once. Once I log in, instead of going to home page, I am redirected to that same product page. So yeah, that amazing thing we will create today. Since I am logged in, if I now click on submit button, you can see that I got the error to fill the form. So let me quickly fill the form. So once I click on add review, the page refresh and now you can see that review is here. So it stored the review in our database. So if I refresh the page, it will stay there. We have some reviews for this product also. After the review thing, we'll create cart page. So if I click on this cart icon, you can see I am redirected to the cart page and this page has cart and checkout options. We also have an empty cart image to show when there is nothing in the cart. So let's add some product in cart. If I click on add cart button, you can see it's added and the cart count here in the navbar also is increased. If I add one more cart to cart, the cart count become 2. So yeah, it's also updating. In the cart page you can see these product cards which have name, price, description, everything. If I update or increase the item count, the price is also updating and the bill is also updating. You can see. And I can also delete the product from the cart by clicking on this cross icon. On deleting the cart item, you can also see the item count is also decreasing from the navbar. So yeah, this is what we will create today in this video. So you can download the source code from the description and also you can join my Discord server if you want to discuss any error with me. Also do check out my Instagram as I am posting daily there about CSS and JavaScript stuff, so links are in the description. Without wasting more time, let's start the video. So first thing, create a review.js file inside JavaScript folder. This file will contain all the ratings regarding code. So open product.js file and cut this rating input function and paste here so that all the code regarding our review system will be at one place, and link it, import it inside the product.html file. So yes, so if I refresh it and check whether the image is working or not, it's working, so we did it. Now make a rate variable and this rate variable set its default value to 0. Now let's make the add review form working. So you can add a comment here. So since we have to make the form working, we need a loader gif and also an error element to show the error. So for that, open login.html page and let's copy the loader and the error from there. So copy this loader image and paste it inside product.html file. Add // at the beginning and also add form.css file because we will use the error element from login page. So copy this span error element and paste it inside the add review form before this button. So you can't see the error because its default style is hidden. So now let's select the add review elements. So define a variable, let's say review headline, and set it equals to document.querySelector and the class name of the element, which is review headline. Do the same to select all the inputs element and the button. So select the review, and also select the loader element so we can show the loader when submitting the form. Now select the add review form btn. Now add click event to the add review btn, so we will perform form submission when we click on the add review. So once it get clicked, we want to validate the form, so let's add the verifications. So the first thing we will check is user is logged in or not. So we can check it using user is equals to null or not. Well, user is the variable we are getting from nav.js file where we are accessing user from our session. You can see here in the nav.js file user is equals to session storage, and since our product.html file have nav.js file, so we can access it. So if user equals to null, which means we don't have any user in our session. If that is the case, we want to redirect the user to the login page. So give a login URL, but along with that give a question mark and then say after page equals to product ID using a template string. So this will, what it will do is it will redirect to the login page with the after page parameter. So after page parameter we will use to identify where we have to redirect after login, because we want the user to back to the product page once he is logged in. So if I now logged in, you can see I'm redirecting to the home page, but instead of redirecting to the home page, I want user to redirect it to the product page. So to fix it or to make it, open common.js file where we are processing the data, and here first of all change this data.name to email because we are getting email from the server, and add this condition here saying if location.search, well, location.search will give you the parameters, and if its parameters include the after keyword, which is our after page, so it obviously contains after in it. Let's see. So if I type here location.search, you can see I'm getting a question mark and after that after page. And if I say search.includes after, it is returning true, which means it includes after. So this is exactly what I wrote here. So if this condition is true, first access the product ID or the page ID. So set it equals to location.search.split with the equal, and the one we want is after the equal, which is at 1th index. So once we get the page ID, redirect the user to that product page using location.replace. You can use template string here and add a else when the parameter is not in the address bar. So just redirect the user to the home page. So if I now log in, I should redirect to the product page. Let's click on the login, and you can see I am redirected to the product page, so it's working. Now we have to validate the form because our user is logged in now. So open review.js and add a else condition here, and inside this else we will validate the form and submit the form. So the first thing we will check is, are they empty or not? So check review headline dot value. Value will return its value, and dot length will return the length of that value. And exclamation at the front will reverse the actual output. So this condition is just saying if review headline has no length, or review has no length, or the rate is equals to the 0. If any of this one of the cases true, show the error. So inside this condition just call show form error, but before that I'm not updating the rate variable, right? So inside this star click event listener, set rate equals to this template string where we increment the index by 1 and then 0.0. So basically the index will start from 0, so we will add 1 to it to make it start from 1. And in this condition you can call show form error, which we have made in the previous videos, and inside it you can write any error you like. So let's check it. If I click on add review, it's not working. Let's see what's the error. It's saying show form error, which means it is not correctly imported. Okay, so just link common.js file inside product.html so we can call the function, and if I click on it you can see the error. Great, now just we have to submit the form. But before submitting form, I will do some more validations to create a max length. So just I am adding simple 2 more conditions here. Once you are done with the conditions, add a else block where we will send the data to our backend. So first of all, show the loader element. So set loader.style.display equals to block. So this will show the loader element, and then call the send data function and set its route to add review and pass the data here, which is headline, our review headline dot value, and the second one is review. So basically we are sending the each and every input data to our backend. Along with all the inputs, send email, which is user.email, and the product ID itself, so that we can identify who posted what review. So now let's make this add review route in our backend. So open server.js file and let's go at the very bottom before the 404 route, and here make a post request to the app review route. Define the request and response params, and inside this first select each and every data we got from the front end. So destructure it like this. So copy this headline, review and the rating, each keywords of our object, and paste them here and set them equals to request.body. So it will basically, we don't have to write request.body every time when we access the data. And for now you can just console log the data, and for now send anything you like in the response. I'm sending got it. And if I submit the form now to see it's working or not, let's fill the form quickly, and let me give it a 3-star rating. And you can see the loader is hidden now, and if I open the terminal you can see the data here. So great, we got the data in our backend. Now we just have to process that data. So remove this console log and response here, and let's validate the form in the backend also. So copy this first condition off. We don't want to validate the max length condition, so just copy the first condition and paste here. Change the variable names according to the data we got, and remove the value keywords from here because it's not an input now, it's a data itself. And also check email is null or not, and we have a product or not. It is product, not product ID, by the way. And instead of show form error, in response, send in response the alert. This is what we have already done in the previous video, so I guess you know these things. And after the condition, let's submit this form, or let's store this data to our backend. So to store the data in our Firebase, first we need to access the collection. So access the collection using collection function and pass the database variable, and the second one is the name of the collection, which is reviews. And after that, make a doc name variable and set it equals to a document of this name, which will be the review, then the user email, and then the product ID. And once we get the doc name, let's set it. So to set a document or to store the data in Firebase, we use setDoc function, and inside that we have to pass a document, so use doc function for that. The first parameter of doc is collection, which is our reviews, and the second is the document name, and the second parameter of setDoc is data itself, which is our request.body. Once we set the document, it will return it, so catch that using then block, and in response just send review or data.data. It's just, we don't need to process that data in front end, so, and also add a catch block to respond to any error occurred if so. Since I am sending review in response, we have to add the review condition in the process data function so that we can process that. So here just say data.review, which means data contains a review or not. If it contains a review, just reload the page, because we want, if a user successfully stored the review, just reload the page. And if I fill the form now, let's click on the button. Okay, it's not showing the alert pop-up. There is some error. Let's console log the error here. So add a curly brackets here, and before the response.json, console the error. And again submit the form, and If I now check the server, okay, I'm getting properties of undefined. So there is something issue with the review. Let me check the Firebase. You can see the data is stored in the Firebase. So it's not with the storing. It is something with sending. Okay, just do one thing. Instead of sending a review with the data, just send review as a text. So change this a bit, and let's change the condition also. Set the condition to data is equals to review or not. I hope this will work. So if I fill the form now, and yes, we got the pop-up. So it's working, it is getting the data and it reloads the page. Great. Our data is stored in the Firebase also, so it's great. Now we just have to fetch the reviews of the product. So for that, first open the product.html file and delete these review cards and just leave one card and comment the whole section. Comment the whole section including the h1 element and the review container. We will create it dynamically. So after the form submission, make a function, call it let's say get reviews. This function will fetch the review from the server. Inside it, the first thing we have to check is user is logged in or not, because if user is logged in, we can send its email to backend, and if we send its email to backend, then we can fetch or get back the user written email. So if the user is not logged in, set its email to undefined, otherwise it will give error in sending data. So once we wrote the condition, call this send data function, which will send the data to our backend. The route will be get reviews, and in data just send the email and the product ID. So once we get the data from backend, use then to respond to it. And once we get the data, for now let's say if data.length, so if data has a length, just console log it for now, so that we can see the data in our console. Now we don't have a get reviews route, so let's make it. So open server.js file, and before 404 route, make a post request over get reviews, and here also let's select the email and the product that we are getting from front end and set it equals to request.body. Now to get the data from the Firebase, we need collection. So define a reviews variable and set it equals to the review collection. Once we get the collection, we need to get the document. So to get a document, we call get docs function, and inside this, since we don't know the document name, we will run a query. So call the query function and pass the collection inside it, and then the where clause or the where function where we write the condition. What is the condition? The product is equals to the product ID we got from the front end. And also use limit function to limit the data. In this case, we only want maximum 4 reviews. And then use then block to respond to that data. So once we get the reviews, just console log the review for now. And also in the response, send let's say 1 or whatever you like. Now call the get reviews function. So if I refresh the page and check my terminal, okay, I'm not seeing any reviews. maybe some error is occurred. You can see it saying user is not defined. So the error is user is not defined, but we have a user in nav.js file. But before nav.js file, we are calling get reviews function, which is causing user is not defined. So to fix that, we have to import nav.js file before our review.js file. So open the product.html file and rearrange the nav.js file. So import this nav.js file before review.js file, and hopefully this will fix the error. So if I refresh the page now, I'm getting another error saying send data is not defined. Again, we have to import the comment.js before it. So just do one thing, import review at the very end. And if I refresh it again and open the terminal, it's saying limit is not defined because limit is a Firebase function, so we have to import it. So go at the very top and set import limit here also. And again, now if I refresh the page, let me refresh the page and check the terminal. Okay, so I got the data. It is encrypted data, encrypted. So now inside this we have to process or filter the data to send it in the front end. So first of all, define an array where we store the data. So first of all, check whether the review is empty or not. A review is collection of documents we got from the Firebase. So if it is empty, we just want to send the empty array to our front end. So send it response.json review error. Well, it is not review error, it is review array. I misspelled here. After the condition, define another variable saying user email, set its default value to false. This is for checking we have a user written review in or not. Once we are done with that, use for each to loop through the data of collections of documents, and inside it, first of all, access the email of that document. So it will give the review is written by whom, and if that email is equals to the front end email we got, set user email equals to true. So if we have a user written email, we don't have to fetch it separately. And at very last, just push the item.data to our review array using review array.push. So it basically just push all the reviews to the review array, and it will update the email if we have the email. So at the very last, just to check for the condition whether the user email is true or false. So if it is false, which will convert this condition to be true. In that case, code this to fetch the user return review. You can see the document name here. So since each document name is unique and identifiable, so we can easily write this document name here to fetch the review from the Firebase, of course. And once we get the data, just push it inside the review array. Well, if you now think we will get 4 reviews from the Firebase, and if it not contains the user return email, we will fetch it separately. It will make it 5 reviews, but we only want 4 reviews, so we have to filter the data in our front end. And at the very last, just send the review array in response. So once we get it, okay, I guess there is some error here. Actually, we can't use send data function here. We have to use the traditional or the default fetch function here, because send data function is not a promise. I messed up here because send data is not a promise, so we can't use then block this. So just write this So this is our fetch statement which will fetch the data or reviews from the backend. So if I refresh the page and check the console, I'm getting error. Let's refresh it again. Okay, I got some errors. Check the terminal. It's saying review error because I misspelled it. So it's not a review error, it's review array. And if I refresh it again, you can see I got a data in my console. You can see it's contain email, headline, product and review, all the data we need to create the card. So we got the data right. Now let's create the cards. So instead of console logging the data, call a function, call it create review section and pass the data inside this function. So this function will create the review section. So make this function and define the data argument here. And the first thing we have to do is select the review section element. So make a section variable and set it equals to document.query selector and pass the review section class name here. So copy this review section class name and paste here. So once we got the section, we have to write its inner HTML. So access its inner HTML and set its plus equals to this commented HTML code. So copy this comment HTML code and paste it here. So this is we are attaching to our section, and inside this review container call create review card function. So create review card function will return the set of cards and pass the data inside this function. And let's create this function. So create a create review card function and define the data argument inside it. First of all, define a variable, call it cards. This cards will be the string of all the cards, and then use for loop to loop through the data for 4 times only. And inside this check whether the data of index I is or not, because if we get only 2 length of data from the backend, then our for loop will give error. Cut this card HTML and paste it here. So this will, what it will do is it will loop 4 times and attach this card HTML to the cards variable, and at the very last we will return this card. Now just add the variables here instead of the static data. Change the title to data of indexi.name. Now after the loop, just return this cards variable, and if I didn't messed up, it should work. And yes, I'm getting a review card. So we got it, we got the data from the backend and we have created the card. So let's log out and add one more review to it. So if I click on the add review button, it's not redirecting me to the login page. Why is that? Because it has some error. To fix this, just change this condition and it will fix that. After that, just log in. Let me log in with a different email. Let's quickly log in. So I'm logged in. Now let's add one more review. So search for lights and this was the product. Let me add one more review to it. Click on add review, and if I see the page now, it is added. You can see 2 cards here, but there is a lot of space between these cards, right? So to fix it, let's first check which style is causing this. So inspect it, and you can see line number 338 of style.css file is causing this. So let me open the style.css file and let me find that section here. So where it is, okay, so in the 331 line number review container, just said justify content to flex start instead of space between. And if I refresh now. It is great. So I guess we are done with this review page. We are successfully accessing the review and storing the review. So I guess we are done with this. So now let's make the cart system. So the first thing we want is to add the product to our cart. For that, open the product.js file where we will add the product to the cart. So open it, and here after the title, select the cart btn first using document.querySelector again. So once we got the cart btn, inside this set data function, add a click event to it using add event listener, and inside this just set cart btn.innerHTML equals to, because we want its inner HTML equals to added, but we will return that added text from a function which is add product to cart. Add product to cart will add the product to the cart and return added as a output which will be stored in the inner HTML. So let's open home.js file and we will create this function inside the home.js file. Here make that function and define the data argument, and actually instead of calling this argument data, let's call it product, because it's a product we are storing in the local storage, right? So make a variable data and set it equals to json.parse, and json.parse will parse the data from the local storage. We will store the cart items in our local storage, so set it equals to json.parse local storage get item cart. So get item function will return the item of cart key, and actually let's rename the data to cart because that makes more sense. So check it, if the cart is null, which means we don't have any cart in our local storage, in that case just set cart equals to an empty array, and then restructure or redefine this product variable with some additional keywords or additional data. The thing is, we are adding here item and the name, the price, short description, and the product image. Other than that, we don't need any other data of the product to store in local storage. So once we define the product data, let's store it in the local storage. So first of all, push this to the cart array using cart.push, and once we push it to the cart array, just set local storage.set item. I misspelled here, it's not location, it's local storage, and set item function will set the item which is cart and the cart array. So do this thing and add the and return added as a text. And now if I refresh the page and click on the button, I got an error saying location is not a function because location.set item doesn't exist. So it's a local storage, and I again mistyping it, I don't know why. So now let's click it again, and yep, it's now added. And if I check local storage, you can see a cart here. Great. Now let's make the cart page so that we can see our products in front end. So make cart.css file, cart.js file for JavaScript, and of course cart.html file. And to deliver this cart.html file to our front end, we need to make a cart route. For that, open server.js file, and at the very end, before the 404 route of course, make a cart route with a get request, and once we get a request on cart route, just send cart.html file in response using response.send file. You can copy this 404 HTML code also, just change the name to cart. And if I go to cart route now, I didn't got the 404 page, which means it is the card page. Now let's make the card page, so open it. Write the basic HTML template and give it a title, let's say online store cart page. Let me just call it cart. After that, you can open index.html file and copy all these CSS links and font links and paste them inside here. So we'll have the star.css file and the Google Fonts, and along with that also add the cart.css file. After that, add some JavaScripts. The first one we will add is navbar, nav.js. The second is home.js, and the third cart.js. We need these three JS files here. And now let's make the navbar. To create a navbar, you just need to make a nav element with the class navbar, and the rest of the things our JavaScript file will handle. So just add a navbar class to it and also add dark so it will be visible in the white background. Great. Now create a div and give it a class cart section. This will be the section of our cart. Inside it, make another div and give it a class, let's say product listing or product list. So this section will be the product list and the other section will be the checkout section. So inside it, make a p element and give it a class section heading, and this will be just a heading, so you can give it anything. I am giving it your card. So now let's style these elements. So open card.css file and select the card section there. You can't see the heading there because it is below the navbar. So first of all, add margin top 100 pixels to it. So now you can see the title. Now give it a width of 100% so it will cover the screen, and add some padding to it, let's say 20 pixels from top and bottom along with 10 VW from left and right. Also give it display flex so it will make the product list and checkout section side by side, and set it justify content to space between. Now product list, select the product list element and give its width to 70%. Now let's style the section heading. So set its font size to maybe 30 pixels and then give it a font weight of 500 to make it little bold. Give it a margin, let's say 20 pixels, and set text transform to capitalize. After this p element, make another div element and give it a class, let's say cart container. This will be the wrapper of our products or cart products. So inside this we will make the product, but before that add an image element and give it the source of empty cart image. So this will be the image when our cart is empty. So give it a class, let's say empty image, and if I refresh the page you can see the image here. So let's style this cart container and add a border to it. So select it here, set its width to 100% and give it a padding of 20 pixels from all over 4 sides. Give it a border radius of, let's say 5 pixels, and set its border to 1 pixel solid and this darkish black color. So if I check the page now, you can see a beautiful border with round edges. Give it a margin bottom also, so it will create a little bit spacing from the screen from the bottom, and set its font family to Lato sans serif so it will be more readable. Now select the empty image and set its width to, let's say 50%, and set display block. So if you set its display block, you can align it in the center using margin auto property, so you can see it is in the center. So now let's make the product card. So for that, make a div element and give it a class, let's say SM product card, or just SM product. SM means small. So inside it, make an image element, give it a image source. For now, just it is just for dummy. Give it a class sm product, let's say image. You can give any class you want, it doesn't really matter. So let's style it. So copy the sm product now and select it here. Give its width to, let's say, 100%, so it will cover the whole card section, but set its height to only 100 pixels. Set display to flex, so it will make all the elements inside it side by side, and set its justify content to space between, so it will make space between those elements. And set align item center to make the items or children's vertically aligned. And also you can hide the overflow and set its position to relative, of course. Also give its margin bottom to 20 pixels. Now when we have only one card, we don't want margin bottom, so for that select the last sm product. So if we have only one sm product or small product, that will be the last product, so select it using last child selector and just remove its margin bottom. It didn't work because I messed up here. Remove the one dot from here. Now you can see it's looking nice. So now select the sm product image element and make it width of 100 pixels. So set its width and height to 100 pixels. And also give it an object fit property to make it in proportions, otherwise it will stretch out the image that we don't want. And set its border radius to 5 pixels for smooth edges. And yeah, after the image element, make a div element and give it a class sm text. So this will be the container of our two text, which is heading and subheading. So make a p element, give it a class product name, so this will be the name of our card product. And after that make another p element, give it a class sm product or sm description. This will be the short description. So if I refresh the page, you can see that here. So let's style this now. Let's set its width to 50%. And now just select the product name element and give it a font size of, let's say, 25 pixels. And set its font weight to, let's say, 700 to make it little bolder. Give its text transform to capitalize to make the first letter capital, and set its margin bottom to 10 pixels, so it will create some spacing between those texts. Now just select the sm description and set its font size to 18 pixels, while 10 pixels will be too small. So let me correct it to 18 pixels and give its opacity to 0.5 along with the line height, which is 25 pixels, to make a spacing. Also don't forget to give it a margin top of, let's say, 10 pixels. So if I refresh it, it didn't work because it's sm description, not text. So the font size is 10 pixels, a very too small, so make it 18. And yeah, now it is good. So after this sm text, we will need the item counter. So for that, make a div and give it a class, let's say, item counter, and inside it we need two buttons. So for that, make a button, give it a class counter btn, and give it a specific class which is decrement. So this will be the decrement button, and copy that and make this decrement into increment. So this will be the increment button, and between these two buttons make a p element. This will be the text of our item count. So give it a class item count, and just for now type 1. So you can see two buttons with one text. So let's style it. Copy the class name and paste it inside style.css file. Do the same thing, give it 90 pixels and set its height to 30 pixels. Give display flex so the button and text will come side by side and give it margin right to 20 pixels to create some spacing. You can see the buttons and text are side by side now. So select the counter BTN now individually. And select the item counter element also, item count, and just set their width to 30 pixels and height to 30 pixels respectively, and because we don't want there to have a same width and height. Now just select the counter BTN and give its background to this color. This is a light grayish color. After that, give it some border, let's say 1 pixels of solid this darkish grayish. And give it a border radius of 1 pixels to make it a little roundy, and give it some cursor pointer. Now select the item count element and let's style that element too. So give its text line to center to make it in the center, of course, and set its line height to 30 pixels so it will make it vertically center, and give its background to this color. And now if I refresh it, you can see it's looking nice. Now make the last element, which is the price element. So after the item counter, make a P element and give it a class SM price. So this will be the price. And after that, make a button which will be the delete button. So give it a class SM delete BTN. And inside it, make an image element and give the closed image to it. By the way, you can download these images from the description. So you can see the image of close button and the price. Now let's style them. So select the SM price element and make it a little bit bigger. So set its font size to, let's say, 50 pixels, and set its font weight to 500 to make it little bolder. Set its color to this black tone, and now just select the delete BTN because that's enough for our price. You can see it's looking nice. So just set its position to absolute to make it over the image element, and set its top to 5 and left to 5 pixels, so it will create 5 pixels of gapping from top and left. Set its width and height to 30 pixels and set its border radius to 50% to make it a proper circle, and set display to flex to make the image in the center by using justify content and align item property. Now set background to white color and give its border to 1 pixel solid and this color. Set its Z index to 2 so it will be over the image, not below the image, and set cursor to pointer. You can see that button there. Now select the image element of that button and set its height to 15 pixels, and the rest will do it work. So I guess we are done with the product card also. It is looking very nice. Now the last thing we want is the checkout section. So comment out this card container for now, or you can just leave it. After the product list element where it overs, make a div element and give it a class checkout section. So this will be the section for checkout, and inside it make a div, give it a class checkout box. So this will be the banner. Inside it make a P element and give it a class, let's say, text. So this will be the just a simple text which says your total bill is. After that make another P or H1 element and give it a class bill. So this will be a little bigger text, that's why I'm using H1. You can also use P element, it's not at all any issue. After that make an A element because we want a link. Set its href to checkout that we will create later. So now let's just style these elements. So select, since our product list has 70% of width, set checkout section width to 30%. And now just select the box and give its width to 100%, so it will cover whole 30% area. Set the height to 200 pixels and set the border radius to 2 pixels. Actually it should be 20 pixels, not 2 pixels. Give it a border of 1 pixel solid, this color, and some padding. Then select the text element and set its text transform to capitalize along with the font size of 18 pixels. So it is looking nice, but I think we need some gap there, so add a gap property to card section and let's say 20 pixels. So now it is looking much better. Now select the checkout BTN and set its display to block, so it will cover the whole area. Set its width to 100% of course. Set border to none, so it will remove the border, and outline to none also. And set cursor to pointer, so it will give the hand cursor. Also set its height to 40 pixels along with the border radius of 5 pixels. And set its background to this dark color. And set its color to F or the white. Set text align center to make it in the center. Give its line height to 40 pixels, which is equals to the height, so it will align the text vertically center, and text transform to make the first letter capital. And yeah, now we need to style the bill element, which is our H1 element, so just make it a little bit bigger by setting its font size to 60 pixels and give its font weight to 500 along with some margin. And I guess we are done with our card page, and it is looking very nice though. Now you can comment out this product card because we will create with the JavaScript. So comment this code, and now let's write some JavaScript. So the first thing we want is a function which can create the product card. So for that, let's make a function. Name it create small card or create card product, anything you like. And inside that, make an data argument. So this function will basically return the card HTML card. So just copy this product HTML and paste inside it. So the when we call this function, it will return this HTML DOM element with the data embedded in it. So let me style it little bit, and instead of the static images and the static product name, use data argument, which we will pass it when we call the function. So just change everything to dynamic. Here set it equals to data.item, and for price, after the dollar, add here data.price into data.item, so it will multiply the price with the items count. And also add this data price attribute and store its original price here. This will be helpful when we deal with the counter events. So this function will create the card, but of course we need something which call that function. So for that, make another function and let's call it set card products. This will set the card products. So inside this, the first thing we want is the card container element. So select it using document.querySelector. Pass the card container class inside it, and once we got the card container, define a card variable and store the or actually get the cart item from local storage and store it inside this variable by using local storage.getItem. And now just check if cart is equals to null. It means if cart is null, which means if cart or we don't have anything in the local storage. If that is the case, set cart container inner HTML to the empty image element. So if we don't have anything in our cart, it will create this image element. But if we do have something, we will loop through it using for loop. So add a for loop, set I equals to 0 and add a condition I is less than the cart length. Increment the I or index by 1, and inside this set the cart container inner HTML to plus equals, so it will add the text, and inside it just call the function and pass the data inside this function. So this will basically create individual cards and attach to the cart container. So if I refresh the page, well, nothing happens. I guess there is some error. Let me check the local storage, or oh, we didn't call that function. So yeah, first of all we have to call the function, so let's refresh. Now you can see I have a product here, so it means it's working. After the condition call setup card event function, so this function will basically set up the card events, which is delete and the item count function. So just make this function now, and inside this function, first of all select all the elements which we need to set. So first of all select all the counter elements, including the increment, decrement, btns and the item count. Select it using document.query selector and pass the class name inside here. Also select the price element, because we want to update that element too when we change the item count. And then make a product variable and set its equals to the cart products using local storage dot get item cart. So it will basically get the item from the cart. I messed up here, it should be local storage dot get item. And actually let's make it query selector all, because we don't have one card, we might have more than one cards. So for that, just make this query selector to all, so it will select all the containers, increment and decrement elements. Now use for each method to loop through each count element, and inside it we will add the events. So first of all declare a variable set cost and set its equals to the product cost, because our price is not a single cost, we have a data price attribute that we made here, so we can get the original price of that product and store it in our cost, so we can add and subtract it from the price. So now just select the counter minus of ith index and add a click event to it, and after that inside it check for a condition whether the item dot inner HTML, well, the item here is the count, which is our number of items. So if that inner HTML is greater than 1, then only we want to subtract it, otherwise we don't want anything to do. Copy this function or event and paste it below and change it to counter plus, so this will be for the increment btn, and inside it change the condition to inner HTML less than 9. So at max user can have 9 items and at low user can have 1 item. Nothing is happening because local storage is really a not a function. It should be local storage dot get item. Then only we can get the item from local storage. Now you can see it's working. I can easily increment and decrement the item count. Now we have to update the price, right? And also this total bill. So let's make that total bill first. So for that, declare a total bill variable globally, and then inside this for loop set total bill, well, set total bill plus equal, which will add the value to the total bill. And what is the value? Well, we want data dot price times data dot item, so it will just multiply the price with the item count and store that or add that to our total bill. Once you do that, call update bill function. So update bill function will basically set up the bill text. So inside it, just first select that bill h1 element using of course document.query selector. Copy this bill class and paste it here. So once we got the bill price element, set its inner HTML equals to the total bill variable, and that's it. This is our update bill function. So if I refresh the page, okay, nothing happened. It's saying data is not defined. Well, let's check. Yeah, it's not data, it's actually the cart which has everything. So it's actually not data, it's cart. So if I refresh, you can see the bill there. Now we want it to update when we change the item count here. So here what you have to do is just to decrease or just subtract the cost value from the total bill using minus equal cost, and do the same. After that, just call the update bill function. Copy these two lines and paste inside the counter plus event, and instead of subtracting, add it. So if I refresh the page and change the counters, you can see the bill is updating, but our card price is still not updating, right? So let's make that too. So for that, select the price of ith index. Well, we have selected our price element in the above lines, so just set its inner HTML equals to the items inner HTML, which is the count, which is our item count, into the cost of the product. Copy this and paste it inside this plus event also, and if I refresh it again, you can see it's working. So we have did it. Now there is one issue. If I refresh the page, it reset the item count back to 1. So to fix that, we have to update our local storage. For that, here set product of ith index. Well, the product is the local storage card, so we can change it here by the code. So select its ith index of item and set it equals to the current item count, and then once we set that, set the product to the cart by using local storage.set item. And just copy these two lines and paste inside the plus event also, because this is the same. So now if I increment the count and refresh the page, you can see it didn't reset it. So great work. Now we want to delete the item. For that, select the delete btns using of course the query selector all method. And after the count loop, use delete button dot for each to loop through each delete btns, and select here or add click event to individual buttons using add event listener. And inside this, since we have a universal or a global product variable, just set product equals to product dot filter. So the filter method will filter the product array and it will remove the current ith of data. So just do this thing and it will remove the current product from the existing cart product. And once we get the filtered product item or variable, just set it back to our local storage using set item function and reload the page. Actually it's reload, so reload the page and let's check it. So if I refresh it and click on the delete btn, yep, it worked, but I didn't see the empty image. Why is that? Because if I check my local storage, it is equals to an empty string. Well, it is not equals to null, so we need to add one more condition. So where we are checking cart equals to null, add one more condition there, that is cart dot length equals to 0. So now you can see the product image. So let me add the product card again, and yeah, our cart is done. The last thing left is the cart item count on the nav part. So we want the cart item count to update there. For that, open nav.js file and let's write some more JavaScript so you can see the cart here. So add a first of all on click event, so when we click on this cart image, it will redirect us to the cart page. So set its on click to location.href equals to /cart. So when I click on that, you can see I'm redirected to the cart. Now at the very bottom, make a function. Let's call it, let's say, update nav count. Say it update nav cart counter, and this function will basically update the item count of nav part. So here select that cart counter first using document.query selector, pass the class name here, and set cart item equals to json.parse local storage. So basically we are fetching the cart data from local storage and setting it equals to the cart item. So once we get the data, we have to check whether it has a length or not. So do it using equals to null. If it is null, which means we don't have anything on the cart, so basically just set cart counter in our HTML equals to 0. But if we do have something, check whether it is greater than 9 actually. So if our item count is greater than 9, we want it in our HTML to equals to 9 plus, and add another condition saying if cart item dot length is less than 9, which is or equals to 9, set it to less than or equals to 9. In that case, we want the cart counter in our HTML equals to 0 along with the cart item length. So yeah, this is the function. So of course it will not work, we have to call this function. So at the very bottom, call this update nav cart counter, and also call this function inside this update bill. Basically update bill will be called every time we delete or add any product, so place that function there. And also open the home.js file, and inside this add product card, call this update function. So all three places you have to add that, and now you can see the one there. And if I click on this and increase the product count, of course we can't see it because it is counting the cart length but not the item counts. So that's it, that was our today's tutorial. I hope you liked it. If you have any doubt or you faced any issue, you can ask me in comments or also my Discord server, link in the description. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe my channel for more awesome tutorials. By the way, social media website tutorial is coming soon. Also, you can follow me on my Instagram if you want some CSS tips and tricks. With that all, thanks for watching.